Trump's embrace of a racist conspiracy has many of the more than 1 million Haitian Americans in this country now afraid for their safety, and it's wreaked havoc on Springfield, Ohio. Since Trump lied about this community of Haitian immigrants who are in the country legally, folks, several buildings in Springfield, including 2 elementary schools, have been the target of bomb threats. The lie appears to have originated from a third-hand anecdote posted on a private Facebook group chat. The woman who made that post now tells NBC News she never meant to spread false rumors. But it only took a matter of days for that lie to go from the darkest corners of the internet to the office of the former president of the United States. DNC Chair Jamie Harrison is back with us. Also joining the conversation, President of Media Matters, Angelo Caruso.
You know, Angelo, after the debate, me, Simone, and Michael were all on set together, and we said this is what's going to happen, right? This rhetoric, it is incendiary, it is dangerous. We have seen this pattern before. This is one of those times where there's no joy in being right. I want you to talk us through that graphic that we pulled up on the screen. How does something go from a made-up story on a private Facebook page to being amplified by the ex-president of the United States?
Yeah, I think that's the part about this that's even more disturbing, right? Because you saw that sort of seed get sown in that random Facebook post. That then gets picked up by a bunch of neo-Nazi groups on Telegram and Gab and some other places, and they start to churn out and push this story over again. And it's you sort of lose the original thread, and now they're just conjuring up other pieces to this story to help reinforce it and buttress it. And then it starts to make its way over to X. And that's where it starts to pick up traction. And really, it begins to take off in early September in the days leading up to the debate, which I don't think is a coincidence, where there's more and more chatter about it. So you start to see multiple hundreds of % increase from posts about this from September 6th to September 8th, and then bam, it makes its way into the feed of J.D. Vance. And from September 6th to September 9th, you see a 4,000% increase on X in discussions and conversations about this. And then you have somebody like Laura Loomer, who is a creature of the right-wing media fever swamp. So either Trump is getting it directly through his feed, certainly. I mean, he's reposted QAnon accounts more than 800 times alone on Truth Social, or he's getting it directly from Laura Loomer as they're chatting on the way over to the debate. Either way, you this manufactured thing gets ginned up, juiced up by extremist organizations, then gets amplified and picked up by the candidate himself because he knows that this is how you help organize power on the fringes, and that then feeds the story. They're not backing away from it, even though it's widely debunked. They're now citing other random things as somehow evidence. They're legitimizing and validating what was a bogus smear to begin with that was propped up by violent organizations. And this is the pattern and the cycle that we're likely to face in the coming weeks as we get closer and closer to Election Day.
This is, it's just so dangerous because it is other elected officials. Like J.D. Vance is a sitting United States senator. He's not some like random man in the basement with a microphone that can't get accurate information, right? He knows better. The Attorney General of Ohio is one of the main perpetrators of this racist lie, this conspiracy. And you have the Clark County Commission President Melanie Wilt, who has talked about the impact of this on Springfield on Tuesday. And she said after the election is over, we've got the sound actually, so let's just play it.
After the election is over and everyone's done using Springfield, Ohio as a talking point for immigration reform, we are the ones who are going to be left to live out the challenges and find the solutions. I urge my fellow Clark Countyans to stop feeding the fear and instead use your energy to become part of the solution. The rumors and misinformation circulating now nationwide are detracting from the real issues we face.
The county commissioner said this hours before Donald Trump would make this claim on the debate stage, where it was amplified by 67 to 67 million people. Mr. Chairman, I just wonder. The DNC has put out statements. Democrats have been forcefully, beating back this conspiracy theory, this racist lie, the rhetoric. But what else can anyone do? Because the Attorney General of Ohio is perpetrating this lie. The former president of the United States of America, who could be elected again, is perpetrating this lie.
A U.S. senator
is perpetrating this lie, and not just J.D. Vance, Ted Cruz.
Yes.
What people could die.
People could die and will probably get hurt as a result of it. And you just think about it. If these people get back into the White House, now they have the most powerful microphone on the face of the planet to continue to perpetuate these type of lies. And they will do it. And that's why this election is so important. This is why we have to keep these folks, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, as far away from the White House as possible, because they're going to bring the Laura Loomers and the other folks right into the White House to continue to perpetuate these type of lies that hurt the American people. And, you know, I really wish the laws were of such that you hit these people in their damn pocketbooks. If you are going to do stuff and somebody gets hurt as a result of, then somebody should have recourse and then say, okay, it was you who caused us, and therefore you're directly responsible for it, and so you should pay for it. And so, because sometimes that's the only thing that some of these people understand is a little of that. And so it's just sad to see this in American politics. Our Vice President, our Madam Vice President, the President of the United States addressed it at the event at the White House just yesterday. We have to, all people of goodwill have to stand up and condemn it and condemn the people who are actually doing this on a day-to-day basis.
So, Angelo, I want to run by you. I won't get into the fact that Laura Loomer is spending more time with the president than the president's wife, but you have this list of conspiracy theories that she has advanced, including Haitian immigrants eat pets and humans. Kamala Harris lied about being black. 2020 election was stolen. Ukrainian spies infiltrated Capitol on January 6th. School shootings were staged or allowed to occur. Casey DeSantis exaggerated breast cancer diagnosis. The deep state manipulated weather ahead of Iowa's caucuses to benefit Nikki Haley. Yes, it's the manipulation of the weather that I found the most, the easiest of all of these things to do. What is it about us that make us so stupid that we believe this crap and that we push it out and we elevate it up? And as you noted in your last answer, we actually go out and try to find corroborating evidence that the deep state manipulated the weather ahead of the Iowa caucuses. I don't understand it. Are we so desperate and alone and forgotten that this is the playground where we feel accepted and believed? What's going on? Because, you know, the Loomers of the world will do. She's grifting. She's making her money. She's got access. She's all up on the president. We've seen the photo, right? She's all up on his chest, right? So we know what her thing is. But why are we, the people, so stupid? Yeah, that photo. That photo. I'm like, where's Melania? Okay? Melania, check your man.
I tell you, my wife wouldn't allow it.
What is it about us on this? I don't understand. I don't get why we are so susceptible to this kind of BS.
I mean, I think it's a couple things. One, the answer to your question starts 30 years ago with Fox News and Rush Limbaugh, right? I mean, they started to sort of reorient a lot of what's acceptable in political discourse and ends justify the means mentality, and really started to sow the seeds of this kind of distrust and sort of conspiracy-minded thinking at scale. I mean, we've always had sort of fringes in this country. That's part of being American. You know, but what's different now is that, you know, 50 years ago, they all existed in their own little pockets. Maybe they would turn out newsletters to 3 or 4 people or scream on the street. Now you have powerful social media tools that are connecting otherwise disconnected audiences. And that's why this strategy that Trump is deploying, that Republicans are legitimizing right now, of organizing power on what used to be considered the fringes, is so dangerous, as you all have talked about. Because you actually are then, these people are being connected already through social media. It's getting amplified through these political figures. And the purpose is actually to create the conditions for violence or the potential for violence as an instrument for getting political power. And that's ultimately what it's about. There are people that really believe it. They're the stupid ones. They're the ones that are hopped up on misinformation. And then in some ways, there are the people that don't believe it but don't care either, like the Ted Cruzes of the world, right, that are doing it solely because they think this is a political strategy to get power. And that is just as disgusting and more dangerous. And they're either doing it because they believe it or they're doing it for power. But that should scare all of us, because this model we just saw this play out in the UK, where there was all those violent riots. And so they exploited these extremists. They exploited this sort of disinformation online, and then they went after and targeted Muslims in violent attacks. And so I think we have to be really concerned about what's in front of us right now. There's no antibodies in the system. And what we've just seen over the last week is just a small taste of what we have in front of us for the next few weeks. So we need to gird ourselves, and we need to stay laser focused on the fact that the only real way to sort of deal with this long term is to get over the first challenge in front of us. Is we got to win this election.
The other problem with this racist lie, Chairman, is that it obscures the truth that Americans do want solutions on immigration reform. And so instead of having that actual substantive policy conversation, we're having this conversation about how the right-wing echo chamber has taken over the Republican Party. You have Vice President Harris saying she believes she owes it to voters to have another debate. You have Donald Trump saying, maybe if I got in the right mood. I wonder, sir, if you think he will get in the mood between now and Election Day, given that there are still substantive differences between these candidates yet to be hashed out.
Donald Trump is was shook in that debate. This is a guy who tried to dismiss and diminish the vice president every step of the way in terms of her intelligence, in terms of her gravitas. And when you think about it, he's been a failed businessman. He was a failed president, and he failed again on that debate stage against somebody who is better equipped, more qualified, and is more in tune with where the American people are. I don't think he will get back on that debate stage because I think he's scared to do so. And frankly, had I performed the way that he did, I probably would be scared as well.
And on